All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us for Magic in Plain Sight. For those of you that don't know me, I am the Garden Goddess. I am Huganzo's godchild. I specialize in magical herbalism and medicinal herbalism, and I'll allow Priestess to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I am Hounsi Soleil. I'm also a goddaughter of Huganzo. My specialties are spiritual life coaching and tarot divination. I wanted to do this class tonight with the Garden Goddess, because I wanted to learn, and I know that I would learn a few things about herbalism from her in doing this. But also, one of the things that I really focus on with my students is magic in plain sight, or incorporating magical workings into your everyday processes, the things that you interact with the most. So thankfully, she decided to collaborate with me for this. And I think that this is going to be really informative for a lot of us.
Absolutely. And I'm also someone that agrees with magic in plain sight. I've never been someone that really liked people seeing your magic as they coming in and out of your house. I feel like magic is really private, and it's also something that is really sacred that some people like to devour after the trend on social media. So with this class, I think it will be really informative for you guys to utilize one of the most common things that people have in their homes, which is obviously their plants. So just to get started, Priestess Hounsi Soleil and I created a document that we wanted to review with all of you. Give me 1 second and I'm going to share my screen. So here we are. Can everyone see this okay? Priestess, can you see this? Okay. So magic in plain sight, enchanting house plants. We know that plants are a great source of comfort, of opulence, of warmth in a home. It's no secret that plants bring life to a space. But when we are incorporating plants into our magic, I kind of first wanted to go over the importance of just why do we love magic? I mean, why do we love what is this? Why do we love plants in our homes? Why do we love having them in our space? What about them is so intoxicating? What about them is so invigorating to have in our homes? And so let's talk about the benefits of just having houseplants in general. So houseplants, when we first purchase them, I'll use mine for an example, they have the ability of, as soon as you get them, they improve your mood automatically. And that's because houseplants have life within themselves. They are living, they are breathing, they have the ability to communicate with you as well as other plants into your home. And so with this ability, for those of you that have anxiety or that have depression, having life within your space has the ability to just lift up the vibration in the room, because when you're down, when you're out, you're automatically feeling like there's no hope. There is no life within your own vibration. And so houseplants have that ability to just completely lift your mood. Also, they have the ability to clean out the air within your room or in your space. So this helps with your sleeping, your ability to concentrate, your ability to focus, and overall this improves your performance. And so houseplants, as we know it, have played a vital role, especially during the pandemic, because we were all at home and we didn't realize how important it was to develop a sacred space, a space that we could call our bedrooms, or a space that we could heal, a space that we could cry, a space that we could just be ourselves in, especially during this pandemic. And so no one, I don't think, realized, I can honestly say for myself, I didn't realize the importance of having a sacred space fully until I had no choice but to develop one during this pandemic. So the reasons why they're sought after is obviously because they bring life to a space, but more importantly, they bring healing to a space that you may not have thought of before, or a space that you may just want to enhance. And so, Priestess, do you have any commentary before I continue?
Yeah, I think that's really important to consider, like bringing life into your space and how that improves things for you, right? One of the benefits of houseplants is that it helps reduce fatigue. Having living things around you is going to increase your energy, really revitalize and rejuvenate you. So that's something to consider. Um, Especially if you have any kind of chronic illnesses or pain issues, having plants around is going to be really helpful because it supports you in boosting your pain tolerance and boosting your capacity to heal, to regenerate, right? So that's something that's really important to consider. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And there's one thing I really wanted to add that I also realized in my own journey of learning about plants, and that was they teach us how to take care of ourselves. The one thing about plants is they're so easily able to die, but they're also easily able to thrive. And they remind us, and they're also reflections of us, that we have to always take care of ourselves. We have to always kind of be on our own health journeys. And in order for us to flourish, we have to take the time to get to know ourselves, our bodies, what makes us thrive more, what makes us be at our most optimal performance. So as you have a house plant, when you purchase one, you'll kind of see that it reflects, it mirrors your own energy. When you're sad, you can look at your plants and see that they can slowly die because they feed off of the energy that you give into the room. When you're happy, when you're loving, your plants somehow are seeming to thrive because their vibration, the language of plants is vibration. Their ability to feed off of your energy is what helps them thrive the most, outside of just water, outside of just plant food, and outside of just sun. And so when you have a house plant and you're going through whatever hardship that you're in, be sure to pay attention to your plants because they will mirror you, and they'll also tell you when something is wrong with you. And they can also catch any sort of illnesses that you may be occurring or curating over time. For example, I caught COVID in about January of this year. And I had no idea that I was coming down with COVID until one of my plants began, I think it was this one, it began to die from the top. And it was reflecting what I was going through because I was developing a fever and I was developing headaches and I was developing high fatigue, especially within my brain. And I was dealing with brain fog. And so as my plant began to die, I started to analyze, okay, what's going on in my space? Is there something, am I not cleaning things right? Am I not feeding it properly? Am I not giving it enough water? Am I not giving it enough sun? And I realized, oh, something's wrong with me. Something's actually like physically wrong with me. And it's trying to warn me before it gets worse. And so probably within a week later, I tested positive for COVID. So the importance of houseplants is they have the ability to release oxygen and also carbon dioxide. So if you're someone that has illnesses, if you're someone that is recovering from a surgery or even grieving, just looking at plants and just having them in your environment have the ability to clean out that air, have the ability to also help support you in your recovery process. Studies have shown that over time, having plants around you when you are recovering, whether it's from heartbreak, whether it's from sickness, whether it's from surgery, that you are likely to recover faster because of them in your environment. And I like to credit that to the fact that plants have natural healing abilities. So them just being in your space will automatically not only clean out the air within your room, but clean out your energetic biofield, your aura, which is what keeps you healthy. It's what keeps you thriving.
Just to piggyback off of that, going back to what Garden Goddess said earlier about that time of COVID being a reflection over health, I noticed that for myself when I was back at the home around my plants as well. It really made me realize how much being in an office environment wasn't the most conducive to my health because you're around that recycled air all day long, right? With the air conditioning, everything else. So being put in an environment where I was around my plants all day long, my skin got better, my breathing got better, because again, I mean, in addition to the fact that I was going outside a lot more, in my home, I had plants there that were regenerating me or rejuvenating me in a really particular way. So yeah, they're really amazing, amazing little forms of technology that we get to have in our home that heal us and help us.
Absolutely. I would even add on to that is I think often we think, human beings have the ultimate domain over planet Earth, but we're all one. We're all connected to one another. So just by incorporating nature into your day-to-day life, it's going to help keep you grounded. It's going to help keep you focused. It's going to help align you with something that you're already naturally connected to, which is the earth. None of us are meant to be in an office. None of us are meant to actually be in these homes with these type of lights, having all this technology in our faces. And so it's really important that each of us go outside, get enough light, get enough fresh air, interact with these plant spirits, because they're not that different from us. They understand your language just as anybody else does. They understand when you're happy. They understand when you're sad. They understand when you're sick. And they're more likely to give you better, easier solutions than a person right next to you. And so they've been on this earth for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And so utilize something that is free, something that you have access to always, by just going outside and interacting with the plants that are around you. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to talk about, and I told Hounsi Soleil about this, the beauty of plant spirits. And that is super, super important, I think, to talk about, because we often forget that these plants, this tree, my peace lily, and this, I don't know what one this is. I just got this one as a gift. These beings are alive. They're spirits. They communicate, they interact. They can tell you yes, they can tell you no. This can also be a divination tool. These are living, breathing spirits. And so they have likes, they have dislikes, they have the ability to help you in your magic. They have the ability to just be your greatest teachers. If you're not someone that has a mentor right now, if you're not someone that has a friend right now, they have the ability to be all of that for you and more. And so it's essential that we respect these beings if we're going to have them in our homes. It's essential that we welcome them into our space just as we do our ancestors. Mm-hmm. Many of you are taught, the importance about ancestral veneration, of having these altars and welcoming your ancestors into your space by lighting candles, bringing them offerings, by giving them a glass of water, by praying to them. But what makes them more important than your plants? Because even your ancestors worked with these spirits, and they are well aware that these spirits have the ability to change their lives and your lives. And so if you're going to purchase a plant, then it's important that you know that you're dealing with a spirit, a strong spirit that has the ability to heal, that has the ability to harm, but most importantly has the ability to teach whatever lesson that you need to learn in that moment. What do you think, priestess?
I agree. And it also has the ability to reject too. And that's something that I think you can talk a little bit more about this in terms of how to choose plants and how to, adhere to the fact that, just because you think a plant is pretty doesn't mean that it wants you to take it home, right? Again, these are sentient beings and they're not accessories. And I've seen people, especially when they are really excited about plants in the beginning, they'll go out and they're like plant hoard, and they'll get like 10 plants at the same time and bring them in. And it's like, you have to remember, you just brought in 10 new spirits into your home. Did you see if those spirits get along? Do they want to be there? Like what, there are certain things you need to stop and consider. And that's why I thought it was so important when you talked about acknowledging the spirit, because again, these are sentient beings. And not only do you have to take care of them because they're taking care of you, well, you should take care of them anyway because it's the right thing to do. But not only do you have to take care of them because they're taking care of you, but you have to be able to honor what their needs are and what their wants are, right?
Absolutely. I didn't realize, for those of you that don't know, I was born with the gift of talking to plants. I had no idea that this was a gift. I thought that was weird. And I honestly thought like something was psychologically like, not right up there, because I could hear them. I could hear when they didn't want to interact with each other. I could hear when they wanted me to take them home. I could understand that, oh, these are actually elemental beings. And for those of you that don't know, elemental beings are spirits that live within the forest. They're also spirits that live within these plants. So you can have a plant like this, or you can have my little tree over here in the back. They have the ability to speak to you very loudly and clearly. So if you don't have this gift, a way to understand plants, such as how I do, is by first divining, divining over the plants that you get and receive, whether they're through gifts or that you're buying, and asking them about themselves. So what messages do you have for me? What lessons do I need to learn? Is there a reason why you want to be in this space in particular? Also, if you're someone that loves houseplants, a tool that you can use to get the best plant for your space is one, utilizing wisdom. Just as Priestess said before, just because you're going into a space and you see all these beautiful plants, all these beautiful flowers, wow, cactuses, wow, peonies, wow, doesn't mean you need to take them home. So when you are purchasing a plant, one of the things I like to tell people is utilize two tools within your toolkit that are free. Utilize wisdom and utilize your intuition. It is okay to have a house plant. It's okay to have them in your homes, but be sure that when you're going into a space and you're wanting to bring these spirits back, go to the section that says houseplants. You don't need to go to the outside section where you have these big ass palm trees and other plants that belong outside. Be smart and go into the section that says house plants. Then just say a prayer and say, whatever spirit would like to teach me a lesson for this season that I have not yet learned, reveal yourself. And that's how you're able to start to interact with these plants, because they want to teach you. Plants aren't just here to just be pretty. They're here to teach life lessons. They're here to heal and uplift the whole vibrational level of our community. And so if you want to utilize them to the best of their ability, you must get to know them and be willing to understand. So some people like to bring their plants in and enchant them, which is what we'll be teaching you all how to do today. But another aspect that you can use to bring plants into your life is by just looking at them as teachers, which is how I usually operate. I have a couple plants that I enchant, but most of my plants actually are there just to teach me for that season. And so when you welcome them into your space and you just ask for them to show you and reveal themselves to you in a way that is conducive for your growth, that is when you get really the best experience about these plants, and you get to learn all these different nuances about these spirits. So one of the things that I do that I think I've shared with a couple of my students is that I do the practice of ritualizing plants. So when I purchase a plant, I bring it home and I do a ceremony. So I tell all the spirits within my space, we are welcoming a new energy in this room. Please welcome them with open arms and have them reveal themselves to you so that we all may work as a unit. I usually light an incense. I have a playlist for my plants to interact and thrive in. And I let these spirits kind of ruminate in my room and interact with one another. And then probably within the next hour, the plant is ready to be just my house plant. And that's how these spirits interact with each other. And they also help one another. Not a lot of people know that plants are talking to each other. They talk to each other a lot. And I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter, Priestess, but there's one person that always they'll like leave their camera in their room, like when they leave for work, and you can kind of see the plants moving back and forth. They'll like dance with each other. It's beautiful, but they're communicating with each other. And some of them won't like each other. They'll be like, bitch, fuck you. And they'll be like, fuck you. Like, I saw you with my man last week. And then one will die. It will just die all of a sudden for whatever reason, because it just didn't want to be in the space. So these are really interesting beings. They're interactive beings, and they're beings with extremely strong personalities if you get the wrong one or the right one.
Yes.
Yeah. I wanted Priestess to talk about water crystals because, woo, child.
So this is actually one of my favorite things that I learned, especially early in my spiritual journey. I came across the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto, and he talks a lot about the ways in which water serves as a portal. If you've taken any of the classes or if you're in any of the mentorships, this probably doesn't sound like the most novel concept to you, right? We know this if you study basic hoodoo, right? One of the most popular forms of divination is water scrying because water is a portal. It holds memory. It's impacted by environment. It's impacted, especially if you're getting water from natural sources like rivers or waterfalls, it's impacted and it carries the history and the memory of that environment, right? And Dr. Emoto proved this in a series of studies where he looked at water crystals. In one study, he took different jars of water and he wrote different messages on them. Some of them said, "You're beautiful." Some of them said, "I love you." Different affirmative things. On other jars, he wrote, "I hate you, you're a burden, you're ugly," just every mean thing he could think of, right? And when he analyzed the water crystals on the jars that had the positive messages, they were the most beautiful geometric shapes you'll ever see, right? I encourage all of you to go Google it yourself. Just perfect geometric shapes, right? But the ones that had negative messages, blobs, looked demonic, like were fractured, right? And that's evidence of the fact that, again, water holds memory, it's a portal, it receives messages and hold messages. So if you are speaking life into water, the structure of it is gonna be in alignment in a way that shows divinity, right? Geometric shapes are a symbol of divinity. It's gonna heal you in a really particular way. But if you are feeding it negativity, then it's gonna also give you that back, right? He did other studies where he followed up and did the same thing with music, playing really beautiful string music and things to water, playing heavy metal to water, and the results were very similar, right? So again, if water is a portal, if it represents the principle of everything because it contains all life, if it's a mirror and it holds memory, then it's a very powerful vehicle, not only for how we use it for ourselves to sustain ourselves, but in terms of how we use it to heal our plants and to communicate with our plants. So.
And when you said that, it made me think of, the human body is made up of 60 to 80% water.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't help but think of when we're talking negatively to ourselves, what is that doing to our internal body that has all this water?
It's destroying us.
And then we wonder how we have a brown thumb, like everything we touch dies.
Please mute yourselves.
Oops. Thank you. Yeah, but it makes me wonder, like when someone says like I have the brown thumb or everything I touch dies, it makes me think of, water carrying memory. I'm like, well, what's stored in your memory bank within your body that is causing everything you touch to just turn to shit?
Absolutely. If you're talking negatively to yourself, it's gonna absolutely wreck and destroy your self-image. And when you don't have healthy self-image, it's hard to be successful, to have pleasure in life, to achieve basic things, whether it's, your goals or keeping a plan alive. Like that's a real thing. I talk about the psychology and the power of self-image all the time in my mentorships. My students are probably sick of me quoting Maxwell Maltz at this point. But it's very much the same principle. We are mostly water. Yeah.
So I wanted to add that another way that you can enhance your water, especially if you're going to be utilizing this within your plants, is plants love sea moss. Funny enough, just like human beings love sea moss because it carries, I believe, over 118 minerals that really help the body be nourished and healthy. A way that you can give your plant natural plant food without using those extra chemicals and particles that they put in fertilizer is by getting sea moss, soaking it in water, and then using that leftover water to water your plants like once a month. That's like a natural fertilizer. And so I absolutely agree that water is life. Water is not only a portal, it is life. Everything that we have around us is living beings. And so if you're going to be utilizing and interacting with life and speaking life into your plants and utilizing waters and crystals, be sure that you yourself that are touching these plants are also in tuned and aligned and alive and taking good care of yourself too, because none of this is going to matter if you are full of disease and illness, and not just in a physical way, but also in a spiritual way.
Mhm.
Still, let's talk about enchanting. My most favorite part. How do we enchant our plants, priestess?
So the very first way is through prayer. That's one of the main ones that I use. Writing specific prayers of welcome, prayers of intention for my plants. Definitely, that's one of the main ways that I enchant my plants. We just talked about water and the importance of water. So making sure that I enchant my water before I give it to my plants, especially if there's like rain during an eclipse or some sort of big event, saving up some rainwater, cleaning that out with a cheesecloth, and then giving that to my plants is something else that I do as well.
I enchant my plants like I enchant my herbs. So the process is long. If y'all know me, my enchantment process can take days. It can just take fucking days. I'm trying to shorten my enchantment ritual, but it feels like it's getting longer instead of shorter. So the process of enchanting, I like to say, is a process of empowering your herbs and tools. So the process can be as long or as short as you would like, but because I am obsessed with plants, I've dedicated my life to plants. I am sure, and I make sure that I'm honoring this spirit. So usually my enchantment process takes days because I take a day to enchant one plant. Um, so how do I do this? So first, I usually go out to a plant nursery. I prefer plant nurseries instead of like your local Home Depot, Sam's Club, Target. And that's because I feel like people at plant nurseries understand plants, plant medicine, and they actually take good care of the plants. They raise the plants up usually from when they're babies and seeds, and the quality of plants are usually a lot better at plant nurseries. And if something goes wrong, I can take them back and they usually know what's going on and what to do. So I highly encourage, if you do have a plant nursery, to utilize that to get your plants. So when I go there, I usually have an image in my mind of what type of plant that I want, because if I'm going to enchant a plant, I'm either going to do it for protection, for prosperity, or for just up leveling my spiritual consciousness. So there's some seasons that I have where I feel stagnant and I'm not really sure what direction to take. Sometimes I use divination to ask my ancestors, and other times I say, you know what, I'm going to utilize my plant allies to guide me. So it just depends on my season. So if I'm going for a prosperity plant to help raise the vibration in my space and then just call in abundance, I usually have an idea of I want a money tree, a snake plant, some sort of aloe vera, some sort of succulent. And these are easy plants to maintain. I usually believe that you should have low maintenance plants in your space to bring them home to you. So I'll usually go out in the succulent section. I set an intention. I say a prayer of affirmation, a prayer of empowerment, if you will. I ask for guidance, and then I ask the spirit to reveal itself to me. Now, some of you may ask, well, how does the spirit reveal themselves to you? Like, is it gonna like fall off the little shelf, or is it gonna like pop up? Is a fly gonna like smack you in the face? And it's usually just a natural, subtle, energetic pull. So you might see a plant and be like, oh, that's beautiful. And then you walk past it, and then something about it just makes you want to go back to it and be like, ah. And then you leave again. It's like, oh, but it's something about this plant that I just want to take home. That's usually how you know, like, there's a pull here, there's a tie here that it wants to be taken home. And from there on, I usually listen to that call and I pick it up and I bring it home. And then I start my process of ritualizing it, welcoming it into the space, lighting an incense,
If I may, Priestess, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to talk a little bit more about that intuitive pull.
Yeah.
This is why it's so important to know how you receive spirit, right? Some of you guys may be new and you may be at that point where you still are waiting for spirit to speak to you. If that's not your Claire, because a lot of us feel spirit through vibration, right? And that vibration translates in different ways for us. So I'm Claire sentient. I mostly feel spirit. So there have been times where I've been in the nursery and I picked up a plant because I felt an attraction to it. And it's not until I've walked around with it a little bit that I'm like, okay, that attraction wasn't about me taking it home. There was just something I needed to feel from that moment, right? So knowing how you receive spirit in the first place is really going to help you a lot in understanding what it is you're feeling, hearing, experiencing when you're in this space. Just wanted to clarify that. I hope that's okay.
No, you're totally, I agree. Know when it's your urges, natural just desire, and know when it's actually a spiritual pull. Don't have what my mama likes to say, your eyes bigger than your stomach. Don't have that in the spiritual realm where it's like, I just want things versus do I need something? I always say start out with a simple 1 to 2 plants. You don't need 3, you don't need 4. And if you're someone that is new to taking care of plants, Lord knows, just stick with 1. Because if 1 dies on you, you're gonna feel away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I bring it home. I ritualize it, as I've told you all previously. I usually bring it home. I light a specific incense. I work with nutmeg. That's a scent that my ancestors love that I grew up smelling. I pray over it. And then my enchantment process, it involves a cigar, usually a Cuban cigar, alcohol, a nice prayer mat, and me and the plant for however long, praying, meditating, divining, and then lighting a tea light and allowing it to interact with me through the tea light. And once the tea light is out, it's enchanted. So, but that process takes a day, about a day to do, for me to do anyway. So you don't have to do that if you're someone that's just new to plants and you just want to enchant one for protection, for example. Find one that you love. Let it be a succulent because they're so easy to take care of. Literally, if you kill a succulent, you don't need to have plants because they don't even need water like that. You literally just can water them once a week, if not less. Find a plant that you love or that you feel attracted to. Look up the magical correspondences of it if you can. You can use the Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. If you're one of my students, you already have that book. If not, I will grab it actually. You can use the Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. Look up the correspondences. You don't have to look at the planets. You don't have to look at the deities it's governed by. All you need to do is look at the intentions of the plant. Use that, pray over it, and just ask for it just to do its job, which is to protect you, provide for you, assist you. And I promise you it will, because plants are extremely forgiving and extremely helpful. So they won't necessarily tell you no unless something is really wrong with your character, with your energy, or it really didn't want to be chosen and you just chose it just because you thought it was cute. So.
Or because it was on sale.
Yeah, when it be on sale.
Don't be stingy and cheap with spirit. That's being cheap with spirit. Don't just buy it because it's on sale.
I can't hold you, priestess. When them $70 plants be on sale for $20, I'd be like, maybe I can give it to somebody else for a little bit. Does anyone have any questions for us? I don't know how to get out of here. Let me stop sharing. I have a question for you all, actually, since we're here. How many of y'all got houseplants? Okay. Are they alive or do they be dying often? Millie, can you tell me about your house plant? What kind you have?
I bought a little aloe vera from a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Think I killed it in like a week. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I felt so sad.
So when you have a house plant that is dying like that, because an aloe vera is a very easy plant to take care of as well. It doesn't die easily. There's a couple things that happened. Either it didn't want to be there, even though you chose it, or you were given a lemon, basically. So that sometimes when we're shopping at places that we're not supposed to be getting plants at, such as grocery stores, there's the soil of the plant that is tainted. Either they just threw stuff in there, they gave it wrong chemicals, they're just doing a lot with the plant. The quality of it wasn't very good either. And so this has the effect of, making you feel bad because an aloe vera died on you, right? It's a succulent. But when that happens, it can also be something is spiritually going on within your space too. So it's important for you to know the difference between, is it the plant, is it the quality of the plant, or is there something spiritually going south? For example, I have a plant in my space that I no longer have that I solely enchanted for protection. It was a cactus, a very simple plant that I barely had to water. But for some reason, probably like a month ago, it began to rot. It just rotted out of nowhere. And I was like, did I overwater it? Why did it just die? And I realized that it was acting as a source of protection because someone was trying to do work on me. And I completely forgot I enchanted this cactus. So when a plant is protecting you, whether it's protecting you spiritually or it's protecting you from sickness or diseases, sometimes it will kill itself to save you. And that's what I mean by, if you get a good plant and it wants to be there, it will protect you to the end. So it'll kill itself to be sure that you're okay. Um, and then obviously when that happens, you can thank it for doing such a deed and then disposing of it at the crossroads. So how you'll know is by learning how to divine and also developing a strong sense of intuition as well as discernment. So you know the difference between why your plants are dying spiritually, or if you're taking poor care of it, or if it was just a really bad quality plant.
Yeah, I agree in terms of the quality. Most grocery store plants are literally programmed to not have long life. So try not to beat yourself up if you got it from the grocery store and it didn't live long. I think what Garden Goddess mentioned earlier about the importance of going to nurseries, that's part of the reason why it is, because those plants are raised and developed in a way for them to have strength and long life. It's the same thing with grocery store flowers, right? They die after 3 or 4 days when flowers aren't supposed to die after 3 or 4 days, but that's because they're literally not raised to have a long span. Also, I'm not saying never buy a plant from the grocery store, because I know that's not realistic for everybody. But also, now that you know what you know about checking in with the plant, use your time in the grocery store to have conversation with the plant and see if it'll let you know if it's capable of having longevity. It'll let you know. Ask it. Have that conversation with it while you're walking through the store. You shouldn't be talking out loud in that process, but even if you are, somebody notices, that's why are they in your business? But just have the conversation with the plant to see if it, not only if it wants to go, but if it's capable of having a long lifespan with you.
Yeah, the best magic is magic that no one can tell a thing. They can't tell if it's just a regular candle, if it's just, a regular plant. And that's what's so beautiful about these plants, is that you can enchant them. You don't even have to write on them. You don't have to put prayers in them, even though you can use crystals. You could seep a little prayer inside the soil of the plant. It's not going to do anything. It'll be okay. You can put a sigil underneath the plant to enchant it even more. You can do all those things. You can get as creative as you want to, or you can get as simple as you need to, which is just praying over the plant. But if you're someone that is creative, that is artistic, that loves, decor like I do, getting a plant in a beautiful vase that you enchant with a whole bunch of different images. If you're someone that is initiated, using certain sigils over the plant, using sacred passwords over the plant will enhance it even more. So when people come over your house, they're going to think like, God, the garden guys has such pretty plants, and look at those vases. Like, where did she get those from? Bitch, it's enchanted. So if I know you trying to steal from me, it's gonna tell me, and I'm gonna curse you. I'm gonna put you in my fucking plant. And yeah. So you can do all these things with just your plants. I think plant magic is honestly the most sophisticated and the easiest thing to do because it grows from the ground every day. Everyone has access to it. You can go as expensive. You can get a small little plant, or you can get this big ass tree that I got in my house. You can get crazy with it. Who else has a house plant?
I do. I have a few of them. Some of them died. And as I was listening and thinking, I think one of my plants, because it was doing so good, but it died during the winter, that maybe it needed to, it was time for it to be repotted because it was getting really big.
Mm-hmm.
But all my vines, they tend to live with no problem.
I would ask you, because some people have this thing about their plants when they're every plant goes through a cycle, right? Just like the moon. It goes through, and we had a moon class today. This is one of my students, y'all. And I was saying within the moon class that every plant has a cycle. So farmers, prior to having their cell phones and like a clock, they would utilize the moon and the sun to know when to plant their seeds, when to water their grass, when it was time for a harvest, when it was time to share their fruits and their produce with other people. And they'll pay attention to the moon and see when it was in the full moon, when it was waxing, when it was waning. And so I say all this to say your plants are going to go through a cycle where they are thriving. They are beautiful. They are magnificent, baby. They look picture ready, Hallmark card, gorgeous. And then one of the flowers is going to die out of nowhere, or one of the leaves is going to wilt. Like I have one on mine right now that's wilting. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're dying. It just means it's going through a cycle of rebirth. And so the fact that you're telling me that your plant died in the wintertime, no plant, especially when we're going outside during the winter and we see the snow, no plant is dying at that point. The roots are going deeper. That's all it is. The roots are getting deeper. It's getting stronger. It's going within itself to rejuvenate itself and learn the lessons that it needed to learn while it was out in the open. It's taking all that information in. It's going in. It's adjusting its DNA to tell the next seed that it plants what to do when this weather comes about. But it didn't die. It's just getting ready for the next step. And so that's also a lesson that you yourself can learn from your plant when you're in a season of poverty, or when you're in a season where it's cold and it doesn't feel right. That's not the time to die or to think that you're falling apart. You use that time to go deeper and to reflect and to rejuvenate yourself and prepare for the next step. So when that happens when you're with your plants, I always say, don't just throw it out. Don't just throw it away because it doesn't look pretty anymore. Use it, nurture it, and learn how to take care of it and have patience with it, because in doing that, you learn how to have that for yourself. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it died. I think there is still some life in there. Just don't give up on it. So who else got a house plant?
I have a question. What about vines? What are they good for?
Vines? Magically?
Mm-hmm.
Prosperity. But I like to use vines for hex work. I like to choke a motherfucker up with that. I'm not even gonna hold you. I like to just wrap it, because vines, they're kind of like weeds. If you can like adjust it right, it'll just keep growing and wrap itself around and just keep wrapping itself, and it'll just it'll thrive like that. So I like to use that for hex work. So when someone gets on my nerves, I put you in one of my little vine type of spells, and it just keeps wrapping you just in a cycle of just danger and poverty. So I don't use vines for like right-handed work. I use it to shut somebody up. Hounsi Soleil, do you use vines for anything?
No, I don't, but now I'm interested in it.
It's like a rope. It's just basically nature's rope.
Like twine. That's what I'm hearing.
Who else got a house plant they want to tell me about?
I do. I've had a succulent for 2 years now. And I actually just bought a new pot to put it in. Because I feel like it needs it feel like it needs just bigger space to grow more. So and I just water it like once a week. It's growing fine. But I currently have them outside because I'm kind of doing like spring cleaning, and I feel like they need to be out in cleaner air, like just in nature, while I'm like cleaning out my entire apartment. So they're currently outside. Was currently outside. Yeah.
What kind of succulent do you have?
I don't know. I actually bought it from Publix. So I don't remember what it is, but it's it kind of looks like, to me, honestly, kind of looks like a mini aloe plant. Because it has like these little white spots, and it has like it looks like a mini aloe plant. That's what it looks like. But it's a succulent.
I would use that for healing in your space, especially since you make it seem like it's small. Is it like this big?
Yeah, it's not that big at all. It's it's maybe about this tall. Maybe.
Yeah, those are great plants to start with when you're learning how to take care of plants, because they're so easy to maintain. I wouldn't leave that succulent outside too long unless it's an outdoors succulent plant. But I would start with utilizing plants for healing, simply healing, heal my mental health. Plants are great for the mental health. So if you have a succulent plant that's easy to maintain, I would enchant it to keep my mental health on track, keep me stable, keep me healthy, keep me thriving, and that's it. Because succulents are really consistent, they're really grounding herbs, they're low maintenance, and so they take very little, but they give a lot. So not only will they give beauty to the space, but they can raise the vibration very easily for a little price. Basically, you're getting a lot out of that plant for a discount. So when you're first learning how to take care of plants and you're trying to enchant them, grab a succulent and just use that. Now, if you kill a succulent, maybe you need shadow work, because that's a lot. Killing the succulent. What'd you say?
I said, no, that's real. That's fair.
Yeah, if you kill a succulent, you need shadow work because it's really not that hard. And I'm not saying that to be funny. It's really, really easy to take care of a succulent. And it's so basic and low maintenance. So utilizing that as a first spell in your plant magic would be great. Okay. And take it from outside and change that pot. When you're changing your pot, roll it. So they come in that little like black, you know what I'm talking about? It's like a black pot with like holes at the bottom. All plants come in that. When you're trying to change out, I'll show you, pull mine out because it's dry. So this shape, try to maintain this shape as much as possible when you're repotting your plants. Get them a little bit wet, roll it on its side, and then just do slight tugging to pull it out. This is because you don't want to damage the roots of your plants. Once you damage it, it's not coming back because you've harmed the roots. So when you're changing your pot, especially as a succulent, a lot of people don't know that they're actually really fragile. So you can either leave it in its pot, get a bigger one, enchant the black pot for protection, and then do like a layer of protection. Get a bigger pot that you can set it in, and then do some mystical magic in that. Enchant the pot with all the different colors in it. Get fun, crazy, enchant the pot to do whatever you want to do. Keep the plant within the black pot to give a layer of protection to your work. Or if you really want just a really pretty pot and you want to take it out of that, make sure you roll it and slide it out really slowly. And then change it with fresh dirt and a layer of like fertilizer. And then that will get your plant thriving. And that could be a form of payment for your herbs. Anytime you enchant your herbs, anytime you use herbs in magic, whether it's subtle magic or, you know, like a lamp, you need to pay them with something. Doesn't matter if it's fertilizer, doesn't matter if it's water. Don't spray with alcohol, but you can give it alcohol, like set a cup in front of it and, you know, give that as an offering. Pay it though. But you can pay it with fertilizer too, and it's going to really love that because it's helping them spiritually and in its physical form. So be sure you're paying your herbs.
Okay.
Right, anyone else? Going once, going twice.
What was something you all learned during this class that you didn't know before you came in?
May I speak?
Of
Yeah.
course.
I didn't know that some plants didn't get along. That I never would have thought about, because as old as this earth is, you're telling me that there are just certain plants that don't like each other is really interesting to me. So that was something I wasn't even expecting to really happen. Can't wait to buy my first plant. I'm excited, and now I'm going to ask when I go to the nursery guidance on the first one. So thank you for that. I've never grown a plant. I used to have a house plant as a child, and it always kept multiplying its offspring. So I realized that plants can get very big, very abundant. So I'm excited. Thank you.
That's facts. How I found out that they don't get along is I was doing magic for another priestess, and I was like, why is this lavender like stankin'? Like she just gave off a scent out of nowhere. And I was like, oh, she don't fuck with vanilla. Like she like dead ass don't want to be here. So they'll tell you in really subtle ways. Sometimes mostly in their scent. If they really like it there, their scent seems to get stronger. When they don't really like it, it's like you can't even smell it at all.
You guys have probably experienced that and haven't even recognized it. Like if you guys have made Florida water more than once or twice, you probably went to go add some stuff in and things were fine. And then you add in that one ingredient and you're like, what happened, right? So that's that reaction. That's a plant that doesn't want to be amongst another group of plants. And sometimes you don't know what's happening until you're actually in the process of doing the working.
Absolutely. Sometimes when you're adding it into the floor, it's like, dang, no matter what I add, it just smells bomb. That's because they all love each other. Or no matter what you add, it just stank. It gave up on you. All right, priestess, I feel complete.
All righty. Well, you guys know where to find us if we have any questions. Do you want to advertise anything that you're working on before we duck out?
Honestly, no, priestess.
Okay.
I don't.
All righty.
Well, thank you. Oh, so when we do divination, should we use? No, don't ever use a pendulum in your divinations. No, they lie. You can use cards in divinate or meditation. That's fine. All right, everyone. Well, thank you all for tuning in to the Magic in Plain Sight class. I've been your host, the Garden Goddess, along with beautiful priestess Hounsi Soleil. Please check out Priestess's mentorship. Her tarot mentorship is coming out. I think She's taking applications for next month.
Yeah, so the tarot mentorship is now the Charm School mentorship. So if you want to learn general practices about how to be an ancestral priest, as well as sharpen your divination skills, you can join me for that. If you want practical magic mentorship, my premium priest program is also another track that you can join. I'm always teaching something, so just keep your eyes open for some sort of class. So yeah.
And check her out on Instagram, Hounsi Soleil. She has her weekly readings out that you all should follow her on. So the replay will be available, I think, within 24 to 48 hours. We'll keep a lookout and we'll post it for you all. So in the words of the rapper Dreezy, gave mercy to these hoes. What would Jesus do? And good night, everyone. Bye-bye now.